right. Welcome to the Kabbalah of Adam, where tonight we are going to study Solomon. Let me go get my prayer sheet. Be right back. I guess if I unlock my vehicle, I can get it out of there. Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Had to go get my prayer book. I'd like to dedicate this class to Jack Pring. He's had some surgeries, recovering, and wishing everybody a happy Shavuot. Glad you guys could make it. We'll try to get you all out of here. Time to go light your candles. Thanks for everybody that's watching. My clock says no one there. Yeah, I had to go run. All right, ruler of the universe and master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work. And we would like for you to enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, and they should not bring separation between you and us. May it be your will before you, our God and God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed heart to the hidden study of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor as aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy service, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study, and by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, instated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah, because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterance of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor for you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. All right. So, if you have the Talmud, we're in Gittin, which is book number 35. And this piece is very difficult, and there is not a tremendous amount on it. If you read the notes, they're really just guessing. I don't want to say guessing, but there's just not a lot. It's, oh, this is just metaphorical, blah blah blah. But we know that if we take some of the stuff we do know, and Ravali comments on some of this, the Maharal of Prague comments on it, the Leshem and Arizal comment on this. And so if we take what we do know and we apply our lessons of Hug and Hasidim and Guvarot and dimensionality, front side, back side, topology, and we work our map, we're going to go through this and we're going to try to see deeper into Solomon, at least even into the crust or the surface of Solomon, to see what he's doing. Because Solomon is trying to reconstruct the entire world, the entire 70 nations. He's fixing to build the temple, which is, there's never been one like it in the history of the earth, you know. He's establishing peace. I mean, he's doing some grand things because he is the embodiment of Adam. Does he ultimately fail? It all depends on how you're looking at it, you know. It's hard to say that somebody failed and when they built the first temple and they unified the entire world, you know. But Torah says this, stuff says that, and there's a whole lot of machlokas and kashas going on within Solomon's life. And so let's take a look here at the Mishnah, and then we're going to go from the Mishnah into the Gemara, and then further even into the Agadah. Okay, so this is 67b3. If you want to turn to 67b3. If one is seized by Curticos and said, write a get from my wife, he did not say anything. If a healthy man said, write a get from my wife, and was seized by Curticos, then he then retracted and said, do not write it, his latter meanings are worthless. So the Mishnah is starting out with this issue of marriage and divorce. So what is that? When we're talking marriage and divorce, or they have to be married or you can't write a written divorce, right? So a get is a divorce, and Curticos means he's not in his right mind. You know, he's maybe gone crazy a little bit. All right. So just in the Mishnah, what are they talking? What would that be talking about? A man and a woman, union, no union, Hasidim, Guvarot, and everything that would come with it, right? So let's look at the Gemara here. The Gemara examines this unusual condition mentioned in the Mishnah. What is the meaning of seized by this not in the right mind? Shmuel said, means to be overcome by new wine that is fresh from the wine press. Wine is the sod, wine is the secret, right? Wine is the 70, wine is Guvarot, wine is Bina, wine is all that side. The Gemara asked, then let the Mishnah state, if one was overcome by new wine, why does it refer to this condition as kind of lost his mind, right? The Gemara answers, by employing the term from the Mishnah, informs us that this spirit is that possesses one who's overcome by new wine is named Curticos. He is possessed by a demon. So they went straight from he's lost his mind to wine to demon. Bump, bump, bump. All right? And we know that there's two kinds of wines. There's the dregs and the wine that gladdens man's heart. So what we do is we start taking what we know and start putting it on our proverbial 4D board up here, because we're eventually going to have to use all that stuff. Now, in the Gemara here, it keeps going on talking about this guy. His mother told him, for heat stroke, you do this. For heart, for this, you do that. So they start talking about all these ailments as it goes through, and then keep going till you get to 68A1. Right-hand column. Having discussed the demon, Curticos, mentioned in our Mishnah, the Gemara turns its discussion to King Solomon's experience with demons. So right here with this man and this woman, in the midst of a quote-unquote lost his mind going crazy thing, then they say, oh, well, that's demons, and oh, well, that's new wine. They go, they're talking, and all of a sudden now they got to go to Solomon. Very odd. They're going through all the ailments that would make give a guy this condition, and now we're at Solomon. And it's 4 or 5 pages long, but I'm going to read the whole thing because it is very interesting. The verse states, I, King Solomon, provided myself with masculine and feminine orchestrations, with delights of mankind, with Shaddai and Shaddos. All right, let's look at the, go to Ecclesiastes 2:8. Ecclesiastes. In the Tanakh, it's going to be on page 1731. 2:8. He says, well, we'll start at 2. I said to myself, come, I will experiment with joy and enjoy pleasure. That too turned out to be futile. I said of laughter, it is mad. Of joy, what does it accomplish? I ventured to stimulate my body with wine and with my heart involved with wisdom. Grass folly, etc., etc. I bought male. It says he had slaves, male and female. I acquired stewards. I owned more possessions, both cattle and sheep, than all my other predecessors in Jerusalem. I amassed silver and gold for myself, treasures of kings and provinces. I provided various musical instruments. Here's the piece that he's quoting here in the Gemara. And with every human luxury, chest and chests of them. Thus I grew and surpassed any of my predecessors in Jerusalem. Still my wisdom stayed with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not deny them. I did not deprive myself of any kind of joy. Indeed, my heart drew joy from all my activities, and this was my reward for my endeavors. So Solomon withheld nothing from himself. All right? And the Gemara explains the verse. Masculine and feminine orchestrations. These are various musical instruments. The delights of mankind are pools and baths. Shedah and Shados. Here in Babylon, these are interpreted as male and female demons. So he had male and female demons. While in the West, in Eretz Israel, it means chariots. So, what did they just try to show us here? Male and female orchestrations, delights of mankind, pools and baths, Shedah and Shados, which are male and female demons. And in the West, which is in Eretz Israel, they're known as chariots. What did they just build? All right, what is West on the Sephardic structure? What is the Sefirot of West? Malchut. So you have the male and female instruments, Hasidim Guvarot. You have pools and baths, that's Teferet and Yesod. And you have male and female demons, Netzach and Hod. And the seventh one listed there is Eretz Israel. These are the chariots. This whole thing is a Merkava. The whole thing is the chariot he is riding. All right? These are all the pleasures and all of this and that. But we're going to get more into the male and female orchestrations because these are demons as well. This is all the levels of demons. Now, we're going to get into male and female angels and male and female demons. But is there such thing as a female angel? According to Torah. No, everything is male. But what we have to understand is above is male, below is female, relative to what's above it. So one's giving, one's receiving, and that receiving, that gives. So it's not gender, it's who is giving versus who is receiving, whatever it is. So that goes all the way down, right? Arik Anpin is female relative to Tikyomin, etc., etc. Elijah is female relative to Metatron. But relative to everybody here, it's male. So we can see they're starting the delights of mankind. It says B'nai Adam. He had everything of B'nai Adam. All right? We're going to get into that further. Let's keep reading. The Gemara rejects the statements regarding demons. Rabbi Yochanan said, there were 300 different types of demons in the town of Shechem. And nevertheless, I do not know what the essence of a demon is. Really? Does he not know? The Gemara now returns to the previous discussion. The master said, here in Babylon, they interpreted Shida and Shiddos as male and female demons. The Gemara inquires, for what purpose did Solomon need male and female demons? The Gemara answers, for it is written, and the house, i.e. the temple, when being built, was constructed of whole quarried stones. Solomon said to the rabbis, how shall I do this? How shall I build the temple without employing metal tools, and yet huge stones that are the right shape and size? The rabbis replied, there is the shamir, which Moses employed for engraving stones of the ephod. So once you get to this point, you have to ask yourself, does Solomon not know that? Correct? He knows everything. Does he not know that? Use the shamir to quarry the stones and hew them to size. Where is the shamir to be found? They replied, bring a male and female demon and apply pressure to them. Perhaps they will reveal to you where the shamir is. Solomon brought a male and female demon and applied pressure to them. They said to him, under pressure, we do not know where the shamir is. Perhaps Ashmedai, king of the demons, knows. Solomon said to them, where is Ashmedai to be found? I mean, y'all know by now, every time there's a negative, you infer the positive. And every time you think they don't know, you got to know they know. What are they trying to conceal and what are they trying to reveal? That's how this book works. They said to him, they said, he is in such and such location. So they knew the such and such mountain. So they knew the mountains. They knew exactly, but why do they write such and such here? That doesn't make any sense at all. Whereas he dug for himself a pit and filled it with water and covered it with a stone and sealed it with his signet. Each day he ascends to heaven and studies in the heavenly academy. Now this is the king of demons. He's going to heaven and studying in the academy of Metatron every day. Then he comes and examines the seal and asserts that nobody has tampered with his pit. And uncovers the pit and drinks and covers the pit again and seals it and leaves. Solomon sought to capture Ashmedai. He sent Benayahu ben Yehoiada, this is where Ben Ishai gets his name, from this guy, to bring Ashmedai. So Solomon gave him a chain on which it was engraved the name of God, a ring in which it was engraved the name of God, balls of wool and skins of wine. So how many things did he give him? 4, right? 4 would be the Havayah. Benayahu went to Ashmedai's mountain lair. Apparently he knew where such and such was, right? He dug a pit in the slope below Ashmedai's pit and made a small opening between the 2 pits. He siphoned the waters of Ashmedai's pit into this new one. Then he plugged the opening with balls of wool. Then he dug another pit above Ashmedai's pit and poured wine into it. Allowing the wine to descend into Ashmedai's pit through a small opening he fashioned between the 2. Then he filled in both new pits with earth so that Ashmedai would not realize that it had been tampered with. Then Benayahu climbed up and sat in a tree and waited for Ashmedai. When Ashmedai arrived, he examined the seal of his pit and found it intact, then uncovered the pit and discovered it to be filled with wine. He said to himself, it is written, wine breeds mockery, aged wine madness, and everyone who blunders in it will not be wise. So now we have to kind of take a deep breath, because we started with madness and we went to wine and it ended up with demons. Now we start with a demon. It went to wine, and it goes back to madness. You see how it just went right here in the Gomorrah. So we always have to watch what they're doing. We started with male and female demons, and now he dug a hole that drained one. So one was masculine, one was feminine. So he took the water out and added wine, Hasidim and Guvarot. And and then he dug on the top and he filled that one with wine, and then he covered them up. So he had a male and female deal, with the female actually with the wine going to be on top, which is inverted, right? Because he's trying to catch a demon. Ashmedai therefore did not drink the wine. However, he grew thirsty and couldn't resist. He drank, became intoxicated, fell into a deep sleep. Benayahu thereupon came down from the tree, threw a chain on Ashmedai, and closed it around his neck. Why would he put it around his neck? Why wouldn't he put it around his wrist and his legs? Because the neck is constriction, Guvarot. That's where the Guvarot is. Expansion, constriction, expansion. The only part in the body that's constricted is the neck. That's the spot of Guvarot. That's why a lion will attack you at your neck. When Ashmedai, that's why the beard covers the neck. The thoughts go from the head through the beard to the heart. This is Hasidim. Even though it's hair, it's covering the constriction. It is the expansion, secret of the beard. When Ashmedai awoke, he began thrashing about, attempting to free himself. Benayahu said to him, the name of your master is upon you. The name of your master is upon you. Benayahu set out to bring Ashmedai to King Solomon. As Benayahu was leading Ashmedai toward Jerusalem, they came across a palm tree. Ashmedai brushed against the tree and knocked it down. Then they came across a house. Ashmedai knocked it down as well. What is a palm tree? Yesod. What is a house? Malchut. Then they came near the hut of a certain widow, and the widow came out, pleaded with Ashmedai to avoid brushing against her hut. Ashmedai twisted his body away from the hut, and as a result, one of his bones broke. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Lilith, Hava. Remember? Genesis. Ashmedai thereupon said, this is the meaning of which is written, a soft expression can break a bone. Ashmedai is quoting Torah like nobody's business, right? They continued toward Jerusalem. Ashmedai saw a blind man who had lost his way and guided him back on his way. Then he saw a drunkard who'd lost his way and guided him back on his way. Ashmedai saw a wedding being celebrated with great joy, and he cried. He then heard a man telling a shoemaker, make me shoes that will last 7 years. Ashmedai laughed. Then he saw the sorcerer engaging in sorcery, and he laughed. Eventually, they reached Jerusalem. Do y'all have any idea what's going on there? Shoes for 7 years. Weddings. Lost, found. Lost, found. Eventually, they reached Jerusalem. When Ashmedai arrived there, he did not bring him to Solomon until the 3rd day. On the 1st day, Ashmedai said to him, why does the king not ask for me to be brought to him? He told him, he has been overcome by drink. We got a lot of drinking going on in this, don't we? Ashmedai thereupon took a brick and placed it on top of another brick. They came and told Solomon that what Ashmedai had done. And Solomon said to them, this is what Ashmedai is telling to you. Give him drink again. The next day, Ashmedai said to him, why does the king not ask for me to be brought to him today? They told him, he has been overcome by food. Ashmedai therefore took a brick off the other one and placed it on the ground. So now we got a lot of bricks going on, right? They came and told Solomon what Ashmedai had done. He said to them, "This is what Ashmedai is telling to you. Withhold his food from him." At last, Ashmedai was allowed to see Solomon. At the end of the third day, Ashmedai came before Solomon. And Ashmedai took a reed, measured off a piece of 4 cubits long, and threw it in front of Solomon. He said to Solomon, "Truly now, when that person Solomon dies, he will not have anything in this world except 4 cubits of his burial plot. Meanwhile, you have conquered the entire world. Were you not satisfied until you conquered me as well?" Solomon replied, "I do not want anything from you for myself. I want to build the holy temple, and I need the shamir." Ashmedai said to him, "The shamir has not been entrusted to me. It has been entrusted to the master of the sea. The master of the sea does not give it to anybody except the wild cock. He entrusts me its oath and return the shamir as it has sworn to do so." And what does the wild cock do with the shamir? He carries it to the mountains that lack vegetation, and he places it at the peak, whereupon it cracks the mountain open. Then the wild cock collects the seeds and trees and brings them to the mountaintop and tosses them in the cleft. And with time, the mountain becomes filled with vegetation. The Gemara interjects, "This is why we interpret the name Duch Ifas, that the Torah ascribes this bird as a mountain cleaver." The Gemara returns to the story. So, mountain, Ema. Cleft, Moses is in the cleft of the rock, Yesod. Shamir is male Yesod. And on that day, his feet will hit the Mount of Olives and it will split from, blah, blah. So we have to take all the things we know and start piling upon this. Bricks. Where do we know about bricks? Egypt. Make bricks without straw. Bricks, blah, 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 right? So as you start going through these, we know a little bit about bone and bone. We know the Torah is stored in your bone, all right? We know about bricks. We know about threes. We know about 300s, 300 demons. We know about above and below, male and female. We know about what all Solomon's trying to do is build the temple. We know that he has this Ashmedai thing that he's working with, right? So we start collecting all of our information. Solomon's servants searched, and we're on the bottom of 6:8b1. Solomon's servants searched until they found the nest of the wild cock and had young. And while the cock was away, uncovered his nest with a clear glass. When the cock came back, he wanted to enter the nest, but was unable to do so. It went, brought the shamir, and placed it on the glass in order to crack it open. Solomon's servants then shouted, and the wild cock was frightened, and he dropped the shamir, and Solomon's servants took it. Having lost the shamir, the wild cock went and choked itself to death for having violated its oath to return it to the master of the sea. Having concluded, we're on 68b2, having concluded its description of how Solomon attained the shamir, the Gemara returns to the subject of Ashmedai. Benaiah said to Ashmedai, "Why, when you saw the blind man had lost his way, did you guide him back on his way?" Ashmedai replied, "There was an announcement regarding him in heaven that he is perfectly righteous, and whoever provides him with comfort merits a share in the world to come." Now, Ashmedai apparently just got a share in the world to come. But we have to figure out, who is Ashmedai? Who do we think is Ashmedai at this point?
Oh, it's a time.
Okay, all right. Benaiah continued. And then, when he saw the drunkard who had lost his way, did you guide him back on his way? Ashmedai replied, there was an announcement regarding him in heaven that he is an absolutely wicked man. Therefore, I provided him with a measure of comfort in this world in order that he should consume his reward for any good deeds that he has done. Who is the only person in the history of Torah that can judge without witnesses? Solomon. Solomon and his shade. Or is the shade Solomon? Benaiah inquired further. Why, when you saw the wedding celebration, did you cry? Ashmedai said, the husband was fated to die in 30 days, and the bride will have to wait 13 years for the Yavam, who is a minor, to reach adulthood. That's where we get the whole book of Yevamos. Benaiah asked again, why, when you heard that the man tell the shoemaker, make me shoes for 7 years, did you laugh? Ashmedai replied, that man has 7 days to live. He wants shoes that will last for 7 years. Benaiah asked the final question. Why, when you saw the sorcerer engaging sorcery, did you laugh? Ashmedai replied, because the sorcerer was sitting atop a king's secret treasure room. Let him use his sorcery to uncover what is beneath him. The Gemara relates King Solomon's latter experience with Ashmedai. Solomon detained Ashmedai with him until he finished building the holy temple. One day, Solomon was standing alone with Ashmedai. He said to Ashmedai, it is written, the lofty and towering are his. And it is said in the explanation of the verse, the lofty, these are the ministering angels. The towering, these are the demons. Solomon asked, in what way are you demons superior to us humans? Why is God's sovereignty over demons mentioned in his praise and not his dominion over mankind? Ashmedai said to Solomon, take the chain off me and give me your ring, and I will show you my superiority. Solomon complied. He took the chain off Ashmedai and gave him his ring. Ashmedai swallowed Solomon. Ashmedai then placed one of his wings in heaven and the other one on earth, and cast Solomon a distance of 400 parsangs. What do we know about 400? And Esau showed up with 400 fighting men. 400 is the number of klipa. Anytime you see 400, that's pure klipa. The Gemara comments, it was regarding that period that Solomon said, what profit does a man have for all of his labor and toils beneath the sun? The Gemara analyzed another one of Solomon's statements related to the preceding episode. And this was my portion for all my toil. What does the phrase all this means? The Gemara answers, Rav and Shmuel disputed the point. One says it's his staff, and the other says it's his cloak. Yesod, and that's the garment of lights, right? Cloak is a garment. The Gemara, of course, we have a parallel story of Tamar and Judah. Give me your cloak, give me your staff, give me your signet ring. The Gemara describes Solomon's suffering after being disposed. Solomon went around begging from door to door. Whoever he came, he would say, I, Kohelet, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. When Solomon came before the Sanhedrin and identified himself, the rabbis of the Sanhedrin said, now let us see, truly deranged person does not stick to one statement, but varies his babbling. Accordingly, what is this? So remember, we started out with a crazy mind. What does this adhere to? The preposterous claim that he is Solomon. To investigate the matter, the rabbis said to Benaiah, has the king requested of you to see him recently? He said, no. That's odd. That's his best friend. That's the general of his armies. That's the hand of the king. The rabbis sent to inquire of the queens, has he been visiting you? They sent back, yes, he visits. The rabbi sent another message. The next time he comes, examine his feet to see if they appear normal. The queen sent back, he comes in stockings, he wears socks. So who do you think this is if he's trying to cover his feet? Because it's well known that a demon's feet are crows, are like chicken's feet, bird's feet. He even solicits the queen during their Nida period, during their menstruation. He even solicits Bathsheba, his mother. The rabbis thus realized that Ashmedai had ascended to Solomon's throne. They therefore brought Solomon and gave him a ring and chain, which the name of God was engraved on it. When Solomon entered the room, Ashmedai saw him and fled away in fear. So we have super mitigated Guvurot, and then he needed to use the Guvurot. Let it go. And then, so it says Solomon reigned as king, then was a commoner, then was a king. But who was the commoner? It's Ashmedai. Is Ashmedai Solomon? That's what we have to figure out. Therefore, they brought Solomon and flew away. Nevertheless, the Gemara concludes, Solomon was always in fear of Ashmedai. Why would he be afraid of Ashmedai if he could control him anytime he wanted? And the meaning is written, behold, this is going to be crucial. Solomon's bed, 60 mighty warriors of the mightiest of Israel encircled it. All the handle of the sword, skilled in warfare, each man at his sword at his thigh, because of the terror of the nights. Thigh is always Yesod. And they struck Jacob in his thigh, right? The Gemara now relates the dispute whether Solomon regained his original stature. This is a dispute between Rav and Shmuel. One said that Solomon was a king, and after he became a commoner, never fully regaining his crown. The other one said Solomon was king, then became a commoner, then he was king. The Gemara now returns to where it began, with all of the migraine, go bring a wild cock and slaughter it, and sharpen the zoos, and now it goes right back into all the remedies of everything it's trying to do. So, what is Solomon doing? What in the world is Solomon doing? It's going to work out like this. Ashmedai is Solomon's own backside. If you're going to control anything, you better be able to control your own backside. So it's just so everybody has their own, quote, demon. That's themselves. It's their own Sitra Achra, their own Yetzirah. This is why you've been doing the class on controlling your speech, because that is your own Ashmedai. That's why you build your own Gehenna, because there is that aspect of the fall of the Klippa within yourself. And so Solomon is not only working within himself, he's working on their levels as well. Because if you can control, if he's king over the whole world, guess what? His demon is king over the whole world too. So if he can control that guy, he can control every other one. This is the level Solomon is working on. So I'm going to read a little bit here in my notes. that we have taken from Ravali and the Maharal of Prague, the Benish High, and et cetera, and we're going to start filling in the blanks of what's a lot of this stuff are, and then you can take it, and when you read it again, then it'll start clicking. So the Mishnah in 67 is dealing with a serious halakha issue. So right in the middle of this serious halakha issue, they bring in this huge agadah. But nobody goes into to explain it. The machlokets are the male and female demons. These are singers. The delights of mankind are the pools. And then these are, so the actual orchestration, the actual musical instruments people were actually demons as well. So he was having a rock concert. There's in, let's see here. Let me see if I've got this. One of the things that brought that in was his wife. She was the daughter of Pharaoh. And this is basically one of his downfalls. This is in Bamidbar Rabbah 10:4. Pharaoh's daughter brought 1,000 kinds of musical instruments. She ordered them to play before Solomon that night. Not during the day. She told him, thus do they make music before this idol, and thus they make music before that idol. She spread a canopy above his bed, in which they set gems and pearls and stones like stars. Then Solomon sought to arise. When he saw the stars, he's thinking it was still night, and went back to sleep until 4 hours into the day has passed. The people of Israel were distressed, for it was day, the day of the dedication of the temple. So she's working. I mean, the other side does not want to see this happen, right? And they could not offer daily sacrifice because the keys of the temple were under his head. They were afraid to wake the king, but they informed his mother Bathsheba, who woke him, rebuked him, and they called him Lemuel, and for he threw off the yoke of heaven. One of the Agadahs. All right, what's going on there, right? So, what's at the same time that the Babylonian Talmud that we're reading from is being written, the Jerusalem Talmud is being written. In Jerusalem Talmud, they're calling it chariots, because the chariot is what the guvarot is what you ride on. That's the same thing as riding on the donkey. That's harnessing that guvarot energy and mitigating it completely, like we taught in Isaiah 53 last week about Messiah ben Yosef, Messiah ben David. So shades and chariots are the same. Solomon is riding them. Shidata is a chariot. So these are male and female chariots. These are the Merkavas, the energy he's using to ride this whole thing. He knows exactly what he is doing. Because we have to ask ourselves, does Solomon, who's the wisest man on earth that knows everything, does he not know who Ashmedai is? Does he not know where he is? And does he not know what the Shamir is? It appears that he doesn't. But if it's his own backside, he has to. He knows the stories of Moses. Of course. Is it Ashmedai that's going to the heavenly yeshiva every night and study and come back to earth? Or is it Solomon? Is it both of them at this time? So Rav Vali says Kohelet. Kohelet, the word Kohelet means to gather. Gather what? Hasidim and Guvarot. That's what it means. He was the gatherer of Hasidim and Guvarot. He gathered from the side of Kedusha, the silver and gold that we read about. He also gathered from the side of the Sitra Achra. We already know that he was rich. Also, he gathered from the backside, from the Gam, because They were inverted to be under his rule, which is the secret of silver and gold, treasures of kings and provinces. So he's amassing the kedusha of holy good things, but he's also bringing everything on the backside, men, women, demons, it didn't matter, money, all of their stuff under his rule as well. That's why it says he amassed these things, because the name Kohelet means to gather. The proof for this is I provided for myself male and female singers. Ravali says these are the supernatural sars that sing. The sar is a malakim who are serving Solomon, who is the secret of Zeranpin. He's Adam. Adam had control of everything. He knew every creature. He named every creature. He knew the soul of everything. This is Solomon. Solomon had reconstructed that entire thing. These are the completions of the Holy King and their replications below. These are the supernal ministers of the nations. Since Solomon governed the 70 Sarim, he was also over the 70 souls of the 70 nations of every Sarim. Therefore, it says regarding Shlomo, he ruled in subjugation by force. He ruled the Sitra Achra by force. He put a chain around his own Sitra Achra by force. Everything he did is exactly like the kingdom of heaven above, in the secret of I made for me. They belong to me. He ruled them, the treasures of kings, the good in them, the 70, called special. Just like the Pasuk says, you will be for me a treasure from the nations. Israel is the inner treasure of the body of the king, like a belt around the waist of a person. All the other nations are outside the body and don't have a structure in the supernal man. All of the nations are nothing compared to Hashem and are considered tohu. So he acquired servants and maidservants. These are literally malakim, angels. Now don't ask the kasha if he is doing this above and below, because there's no female angels like we discussed earlier. But I've already explained, one's only giving and receiving. Because the Zohar says there are only male angels. But each angel is receiving from the one above it. The one that receives are females relative to the one that above is giving. Yet there are 2 angels on the ark. Yet one gives and the other receives. Rashi says the 2 turning swords that guard the Garden of Eden. These are well known. This is the Garian. This is the Noga. They are sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes holy, sometimes a shade. If you're looking at it from the holy side, we have one surface, 2 sides. Holy, shading. Shaddai, shade. Good Yesod energy, bad Yesod energy. Solomon, Ashmadai. Me, whatever my counterpart is, right? It's like that with everybody. But then when you're in a relationship with a Jew, you are the shade relative to him. Because once you're together, now he's complete. That's why sometimes Og is good guy. Sometimes Og is bad guy. Sometimes Eleazar good guy. Sometimes Eleazar bad guy. Sometimes Hiram good guy. Sometimes Hiram bad guy. And really, you have to control yourself, but the Jew has to control yourself too, and himself. It's all the way through the Torah. It all depends upon the function that the Holy One needs. You let the good in, it's holy. You keep the klipa out, he's a shade. Shades fight shade. He says there's no kasha here. He acquired both, the giving ones and the receiving ones. Then they flip. The lower one gives to the next one. Only the vessel is gender. These are the worlds of the alamot. These are the worlds, the alamot. He's talking about the worlds. Every world, the giving and receiving in every world. King Solomon merited to understand the secret of their songs. They played for him all the time. And King Solomon composed Song of Songs as a pleasure from their songs. So as they were singing to Hashem in heaven, he wrote his song based on that song. Okay, they're singing Stairway to Heaven, and he's writing Stairway to Heaven, called Shir HaShirim. Then the pleasures of the son of Adam is in the external and its absolute pleasure. He brought the 4D to 3D. And he was the human that merited it, that experienced this. And this will be the experience of Gan Eden after death, when he experienced it while it was alive. So he was literally having Gan Eden experience here. So if it's holographic and dimensionality and hierarchy, and so now you have a holo hierarchy, he doesn't have an issue with the women. Everything's in union. There's no contradiction because it's Gan Eden. He brought 4D here. Only person that ever completed it into its entirety. As he learned how to compose his songs from the holy supernal lover, in his lifetime, through the construction of the Beit HaMikdash, this is the secret for the enlightened ones who know. I love it when they end with that. What are these Sheda and Shedot? Why is one singular and one plural? These are the female from the side of impurity under his Kedusha. Those are the plural ones. The singular is Lilith. The Shedot are Naaman and Mekolat, the succubus sisters. Have you ever heard, don't kick the birds out of a mother's nest? The two daughters are Naaman and Mekolat, and those are the daughters of Lilith. He even subdued Lilith and the two sisters. Do y'all remember the deal about the two women that brought the baby before Solomon, and he said cut it in half? That's who they were. They were demons. So his wisdom, it's easy to know how to tell somebody if you already know their essence. He already knew. He mastered them as well. The two girls and the mother, as is known to the enlightened ones. They just write, to the enlightened ones that know will know. And then they just go to the next thing. It is well known that there are 10 songs in Torah. You have the Song of the Sea, Song of Deborah, and Song of Songs is number 9. And the 10th one will be written by Mashiach when he comes. This wise king conquered them. Not for Zivug, because he was a tzaddik. He had 1,000 wives who were the most beautiful in the whole world. What did he need Zivug with them for? They were bald. Female demons are bald. They don't have any hair. Rather, they shave their head, type of deal. Rather, he conquered them in order to replicate what was above as is how he did everything. Therefore, he increased more than any in Jerusalem ever. Didn't matter what it was. He was bringing 4D down. When he brought 4D down, Jerusalem increased. Everything is an extension of him, who is Adam. The Ben Ish Hai says, the Arizal tells us, there are different kind of shading. Some whose body come from fire and air, and come from those that come from the Ruach, air, have a Nephesh. Some shading Nephesh comes from the mineral world, and they live in the land and in caves and ravines. Some from the plant world and dwell in waters and rivers and wells. There are two types that are rooted shadim. These two types are very evil. And the third type have a nephesh that speak and dwell in the foundation of fire. They are the highest ones. There are Jewish shadim and non-Jewish shadim. There he writes that Ashmedai is a Jewish shadim. Why would he write that? Because it's Solomon. Any king that rules over shadim is called Ashmedai, because he comes from fire, because the word is Aish Adomi, the fire of Adam. Adamic fire. That is describing a man of his status. Think about it. He's got 1,000 wives. This guy is the most passionate, love, Adam, 4D man that's ever been. So, and king, and ruler, and everything. So that is the fire passion of Adam. The backside of that is Aish Adami, Ashmedai. That's what it is. So all of these things, whether it's Solomon or Ashmedai, it's the same thing. Solomon knows what's going to happen to these people. Solomon knows what's happening to Ashmedai. He's letting Ashmedai take over for certain things to make sure the temple gets built, because it has to be that way. He's working the whole thing. It's the most ingenious, unbelievable concept to try to wrap your mind around. It's his own Guva wrote. He is the king of the Shaddai energy. The shades were created on the 6th day at dusk after the fall of Adam, because this was the sexual fire that caused it. How much time we got? Where we at?
69.
Huh?
69.
59? Okay. We'll probably end right. Let's go ahead and end right here. That way everybody can get back home for Shavuot. So we're going to go into, I'll leave you all with this one last nugget. Because I got a lot of stuff. The bricks. Brick is called Levana in Hebrew. Levana is the Sitra Achra. Why did Pharaoh want them to make bricks? Sitra Achra. Why was Ashmedai playing with the bricks? It's the Sitra Achra. The word Levana is the gematria of Samael and Lilith and the Koel. There's a story in Sota, in the unedited version, where it says, do not be like Elisha that pushed away Gehazi 3 times. And do not be like Yehoshua ben Harachiah, who pushed away Yeshu HaNotri 3 times. Yeshu HaNotri came in the 3rd time and he was doing the Shema, and he went like this because he wanted to finish the Shema, and he didn't see, he thought he was pushing him away. And it says Yeshu HaNotri left, set up a brick, and worshiped it. And he says, you made the rock into a brick. You gave the rain to the Sitra Achra instead of the foundation stone. And so what do we say? The rock that the builders rejected have become the foundation stone. What do they say? The rock that the builder, that he is the rock. That, you see how they gave the power to the Sitra Achra? It's all about the brick. And that's just one little story. Have a great Shavuos. The Torah is amazing. Sages are amazing. The Talmud is amazing. And I'll see y'all next Thursday. We'll finish what we got here, and we'll add some more to it. Have a great evening. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.